At the beginning of the movie, 3 people are playing mahjong for money in one of Beijing high-rises. The girl doesn't like the suit in her hand and is very upset about it. At that moment, her son comes running up to her in a suit of some iron dude and brags about his skills to launch rockets and do other crazy stuff. But the mother is not currently in the mood because of losing and just waves the boy away. He runs out to the balcony and jumps off it shouting, "I can fly." Luckily, he is spotted by a seemingly simple janitor that stretches out his arms like Reed Richards and manages to catch the boy. The old man tells the kid not to do anything stupid because neither Spider-Man nor Iron Man exists in real life. Passers-by noticed what was going on and crowded around the old man asking what it was. He says he wants to take a picture of them and erases their memory with some kind of Chinese neuralizer. The boy's mother runs up and apologizes for her carelessness and promises she will never gamble again. This evening, the sidewalk cafe is full of customers. All of them complain about the long wait for kebab and ask the cook to hurry up. A man cannot stand the emotional pressure, puts his hand under the grill and ignites his palm, speeding up the cooking. This is Huonan, Kaochuan Dashu. As you all have probably understand, it means fireman, Uncle Kebab on the grill. At one of the nightclubs, the heat is also in full swing. While a hottie does her thing on the catwalk, one overexcited customer with his tongue hanging out climbs up on stage and joins her in the dance. The girl releases an electric charge into the pylon, startling the obsessive Chinese man with an electric shock. Her name is Dian Nu, Gong Ti Hua Hudi, which literally translates as an electric girl, Gong Ti flower butterfly. And don't ask me, I don't know what that means. Another member of the superheroes team, who is introduced to us, is an ordinary-looking security guard who helps the girl to pull out the car stuck with a wheel in the sewer manhole. His hand turns into a metal hand just like Colossus, and he grabs the plastic bumper, which is held on the car with plastic clips, and lifts the 30,000 pounds car out of the manhole trap. His name is, well, I'm not even going to attempt that. But it means Iron Arm, Captain of Security. All these heroes are summoned by their leader, named Pharaoh. He says he found information that a group of robbers will be working near the museum. A group of superheroes arrive on the scene. Robbers drive up to the museum in a Mark X. After shooting out the security cameras, the men in ski masks begin to painstakingly pick at the manhole cover. After many unsuccessful attempts, they finally blow the base of the manhole and are about to remove the cover. The aggressive and impatient Captain Security wants to jump into action, but Pharaoh commands them to wait for the crime itself so that there is a reason to arrest them. At that moment, another superhero in a Superman costume moves to the spot in an acrobatic manner. His nickname is Sticky. It turns out he was recently recruited by Pharaoh, and no one called him for this assignment. But the proactive rookie attacks the bad guys and takes them out with his super sticky saliva. The rookie is then joined by other superheroes who have no trouble taking down the offenders. One of the villains is still conscious, so Pharaoh, using his superpowers like Charles Xavier, hypnotizes the criminal that he is his father. The poor guy throws himself at the man's feet and confesses his uselessness. Then he tells him that they are stealing manhole covers to sell them to a very powerful buyer. He needs them to make high-strength armor for tanks, because Chinese manhole covers can withstand American armor-piercing shells. Then Pharaoh wipes their memories with a Chinese neuralizer. The newcomer expects praise from the leader for his brilliant work, as he believes. But the old man reprimands the guy for interfering and ruining their plan. Then the commissioner calls Pharaoh and thanks him for his work, because they have uncovered the manhole cover smuggling gang, which has been rampant recently. After the mission, in the superhero's lair, Pharaoh introduces the newcomer Sticky to the entire team. Pharaoh says that after he swallowed a tube of low-quality glue as a child, his body began irreversible processes, and in adulthood, it took its toll. Now his sweat, saliva, urine, and even semen are an unusually sticky substance. The young man selflessly demonstrates his abilities to everyone, unwaveringly believing that he is the coolest among them. However, the aggressive Captain Security puts the upstart in his place. Pharaoh gives him a job. He must blend in with the regular people by working as a courier. After all, that is the rules of their team. The guy asks to give him a really serious job, but the old man is adamant, and Sticky has to deliver parcels all day long. However, having encountered a few jams on his way, he decides to break their main rule, not to show their abilities in public. And with the help of his super sticky sweat, like a Spider-Man, he climbs buildings delivering packages. This leaves one of their clients in deep shock and causes her to have a mental breakdown. An ambulance takes the victim away, who deliriously talks about a ghost crawling on walls. Fortunately, Pharaoh erases her memories, and she calms down. Meanwhile, in a powerful corporation called Seven, a director meets with investors. The director, named Chan, shows the investors a young scientist named Bill,
Dr. Bill,
who has developed a cloning compound. Bill introduces the investors to his development, which avoids the unnecessary time cost of nurturing clones. He injects the drug into an orange, and it begins to divide like a cell. The fruit has lost none of its flavor, which excites the investors, and they promise the director that they will finance the project. Chan, being happy with such a success, promises Bill that he will soon shine on the covers of science magazines with his revolutionary technology. In the meantime, while Pharaoh reprimands the young man for using superpowers in public, Sticky drains his 7th bottle of Coke. Then the young man expresses his dissatisfaction with wasting time on such nonsense as parcel delivery, because he is a superhero and therefore should fight crime. At that moment, an attractive girl approaches him, and recognizing him as a courier, she asks him to go to her home and help her with packing things to send. The dumbfounded guy gladly follows the hottie. At home, the girl in a bossy manner tells him what to do and starts the stream. It turns out that she is quite a popular blogger named Xiaoya. Sticky goes to the bathroom to relieve himself. He squeezes thick drops of glue into the toilet bowl, but suddenly a large cockroach catches his eye. Frightened, he splashes his urine all over the floor, even splashing it over his hands. In an attempt to get his feet off the floor, he falls and grabs the girl's underwear. Hearing a noise in the restroom, Xiaoya stomps over to check what is going on there. When she enters, she sees the young man trying to tear off the bra stuck to his hand, and of course, she considers him to be a pervert. The boy tries to explain himself. The girl stumbles and starts to fall down. Sticky catches her in his arms, after which her shirt sticks to his hands. The girl appears in front of the audience in her underwear, which makes the audience very excited. Sticky runs away and with great difficulty peels off the clothes from his palms. Meanwhile, in Seven, Bill tries to clone a lab mouse with the help of his compound. But after injection, the rodent simply gets blown to pieces. Chan walks in at the wrong time and finds Bill experimenting on mice, saying that cloning living organisms is forbidden, and they could get in trouble if this information leaks outside the company. Bill desperately tries to convince his boss that only cloning living organisms can get him on the pedestal of the scientific community, but definitely not playing with plants. There is future behind this technology, because they will be able to reproduce organs for surgery, kidneys, heart. It will a breakthrough in medicine, but Chan strictly forbids such experiments, and Bill has no choice but to comply. The same day, Sticky tells Pharaoh that something is going on with his body. He has never glued himself before. The man ties him to his bunk and explains that it is a stress reaction. Under the influence of adrenaline, he cannot control his abilities. So he says he will make a small incision and then he will be fine. Sticky is startled when the old man points at the guy's tool at this point, but then it turns out he just missed the direction with the pointer. He's going to cut the Sticky's palms. After the surgery, all the gooey liquid is now concentrated in his palms. He makes himself a new supersuit and learns to control his new powers. Now his name is the Courier. The guy returns to his courier job and delivers Xiao Ya's parcel. The girl is not happy to see him again. In order to smooth the situation, he gives her her underwear, mentioning that he properly washed it from his hands. When she opens the box, she is furious to find an inflatable man in there. The girl thinks that this pervert is also bullying her. A chubby neighbor comes out at the noise and takes his parcel. It turns out there was a mistake in the address. When the tension subsides, the courier explains to the girl that she misunderstood misunderstood him last time, and her negativity towards the guy dissipates a bit. A phone call distracts the girl from the dialogue, and she runs out to the street in a hurry, where her father is already waiting for her. He turns out to be that very Chan, the director of the corporation. The courier is delighted that his sweetheart is not simply beautiful, but she is also from a rich family. Meanwhile, Bill doesn't waste time and continues to conduct experiments on mice, getting a steady grip on the team of his colleagues. They promise him to keep the dark deeds of their scientific director in secret. Finally, he succeeds in cloning mice. The next morning, Pharaoh assigns a task to the group of superheroes. All members of the group are not happy with the newcomer in their ranks, who often screws up, but Pharaoh assures that he is ready for serious business. But this time, however, during the mission, Courier is way ahead of all his colleagues, literally doing all of the hardest work for them. They have one last villain left to catch. While watching him, Courier notices Xiao Ya being attacked by another bandit while she was streaming. Courier leaves everything and rushes to save the hottie. He easily knocks out the intruder, but the last one manages to push Xiao Ya down from a high floor, and Courier saves her by picking her up in falling. She is stunned by what has happened and wants to know the name of her savior. That is when Pharaoh brainwashes her with a neuralizer, making her think that they are just making a movie here. When the girl gets home, her head splits. Her friend calls her and wants to know what happened to her next. In fact, everything that happened was broadcast live on her account, and then the girl remembers everything that happened in detail. Sensational news spread throughout the whole Celestial Empire, and the Courier became insanely popular overnight. All the celebrities are discussing his mysterious identity.
It's like a spider, he looks like a bug.
Pharaoh is furious at this turn of events, but the commissioner calls him and says, since it has happened, it is necessary to make him a celebrity to draw attention away from the other mysterious feats of superheroes. They go to the producer of Central Television, and with the help of his abilities, Courier confirms that he is that very superhero. The young man becomes a celebrity in an instant. He is bombarded with all kinds of questions. He even advertises some new fancy Chinese medical masks on TV. He sits on the jury of a voice contest and holds various press conferences. To hide the existence of other superheroes, Courier claims that he is responsible for all the miraculous rescues and feats that had taken place over the years in this city. This news enrages Captain Security. He is furious with the new upstart who appropriates all their merits for himself. Meanwhile, the Courier's real superhero work fails. After all, he is recognized not only by the victims of the attack, but also by the robbers themselves. One of them even deliberately went to the robbery to attract the attention of the Courier and promote his online store. Some other people fake an attack to make themselves look like victims and sue for more money from the superhero. Before another conference, Courier complains to Pharaoh that this is not what he wanted from his profession. At that moment, Xiao Ya, who has already fallen head over heels in love with her savior, rushes to him through the crowd and guards. As she runs away from the guards down the corridor, Captain Security bursts in on the Courier and starts beating him up for everything he said on TV. In order to pacify him, the Courier smears glue on his lips. Xiao Ya bursts in and unknowingly glues the Courier to the cap by pushing the guys with the door. Thinking her lover is gay, she runs away in tears. The guy runs up to her unmasked, and an awkward conversation begins again between them. The guy makes up a story that he knows the Courier, and he can arrange a meeting for them. He also assures Xiao Ya that the Courier is not gay at all, but she just must have misunderstood something. The girl thanks him. Meanwhile, in the Sevens building, the director's assistant finds a test tube in the trash and tells his boss. Chan yells at Bill in anger and promises to suspend him from his job. However, Bill has already taken the entire staff under his control and orders them to tie the director and his assistant up. He says it is time to test the compound on humans and injects the director's assistant with the drug. Predictably, he instantly explodes. The mad scientist wants to analyze the experiment data, but Chan manages to block access to the database. Even under various threats, the director refuses to give the madman the password. Then Bill sends people after director's daughter. At this minute, the joyful courier jumps across the rooftops to his beloved for a date, practicing parkour skills. The girl, expecting to meet the courier, happily runs to open the door. But there are Bill's men outside. They take the streamer by force. The courier arrives a couple of minutes later, and having found a mess at her house, realizes that something bad has happened. He calls Pharaoh, and Pharaoh commands all team members to move out on the mission. Only Captain Security is reluctant to help this show-off, but Pharaoh's words of wisdom change the guy's mind. Pharaoh also tracks the girl's phone and tells the courier where she is being held hostage. Threatening to inject the girl with the compound, Bill keeps on trying to get the password from Chan. The director gives up and tells the password to the crazy scientist. Having gotten what he wanted, Bill still intends to kill the witnesses. But at that moment, the courier arrives to the scene and gets into the fight. Other superheroes arrive, and together they kill all of Bill's men. Bill himself manages to run away. But on the street, he gets a hard beating from Captain Security. Bill injects him with a cloning compound. But it has a very different effect on superheroes. Captain Security fully cosplays Colossus and gets covered in metal. His aggression is off the charts, and he smashes the scientist's head without a second thought like Kai Green did to the watermelon. He continues his rampage, smashing everything around him like the Hulk. The superheroes arrive there, and each of them gets beaten one by the Chinese Colossus because their powers are not strong enough. Captain Security takes a swing at the courier, but Xiao Ya saves him by shooting the villain in the iron back with an AK-47. The villain switches to her, but Courier saves her from getting hit by a car door that was thrown by Cap. He glues the villain to the sidewalk. At this point, the girl sees the courier's real face. She recognizes the guy and asks why he didn't tell her earlier that it was him all the time. The guy replies that he didn't want to upset her because even though he is handsome, he is good for nothing and pretty talentless too. The girl says that is not true. He is not handsome at all. However, she likes that he is actually a courier. A whole manifesto flies out of her mouth about how great it is to just be a courier and how happy she would be to date a simple delivery guy. Cap Security peels himself off the asphalt and moves towards them. Pharaoh offers all other superheroes to join their forces against Cap. They charge the courier with their energy, and he releases a fiery electric telepathic sticky beam that rips all the metallic shell off of Captain Security, and he becomes himself again. Xiao Ya and the courier start dating. A few days later, Electric Girl is staring off into the distance while standing on the roof of a high-rise. Bill approaches her. She examines the guy and tells him that the result is perfect. Then she gives the blonde guy a real adult kiss. The sequel of this bizarre movie will be posted on my Telegram channel, so don't forget to subscribe by following the link in the description and in the comments. Dear friends, if you like recaps of such outlandish and weird movies like this one, feel free to leave a like, and I will do some more recaps like this. Hugs to everyone. I'll see you soon.